Evening and welcome to the Planning Commission's regular meeting for July 28th, 2025. This time we'll move to roll call. Commissioner Fisher.
Commissioner Bott.
Here.
Commissioner Britton.
Here.
Commissioner Fisher here. Chair Frazier.
Here.
Commissioner Knebel. He's excused. Commissioner Steckman.
Here.
And Commissioner Woodman. He's also excused.
Thank you. Item 3 is approval of the agenda. I would look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Bott. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Steckman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Item 4 is open forum. This is a chance for anyone who's here tonight in the audience to speak to the commission on something that is not on tonight's agenda. The things we have that we will have separate spots for are the Grove Tobacco, 61 Marine and Sports, Almar Village Parking, and Cedarhurst. If you would like to talk to us about something that is not on tonight's agenda, right now would be the time. So at this point, I will open forum. Anyone wishing to speak to the commission can step up to the podium, state their name and address. All right, seeing none, we will close open forum. Item 5 is Chair's explanation of the hearing process. The Planning Commission is a volunteer advisory group to the City Council. One of the Commission's functions is to hold public hearings and make recommendations on land use and zoning matters. The purpose of these public hearings is to provide an opportunity for each applicant and citizens to present information, ask questions, and express opinions. Since these proceedings are televised and recorded for the public record, anyone wishing to speak must step up to the podium and give their name and address before addressing the Commission. Staff reports are prepared and provided to the applicant and Planning Commission in advance of the meeting. The first step in the hearing will be for staff to present a summary of the report. The applicant will then have the opportunity to briefly explain the proposal and provide additional information or comment. Anyone wanting to speak in favor or against the proposal will then be heard. Upon completion of the testimony, the hearing will be closed to public comment. The Planning Commission will then discuss and act on the matter. 2 complete agenda packets are available for viewing on the back table. Please do not remove those items. The City Council will act on agenda items 6A, Grove Tobacco, and 6C, Almar Village Parking at their meeting on Wednesday, August 6, 2025, which starts at 7 p.m. The City Council will then act on agenda items 6B, 61 Marine and Sports, and 6D, Cedarhurst at the meeting on Wednesday, August 20th, 2025, which starts at 7 p.m. With that, we'll move to item 6, and 6A is Grove Tobacco with Sam presenting.
You're going to keep talking. Can you go out?
Oh.
Alrighty. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission. It is my pleasure tonight to bring you the Grove Tobacco application for a lower potency hemp edible conditional use permit. The property is located in a multi-tenant building at 8599 West Point Douglas Road, suite number 200. They currently are leasing space in the building, and the applicant currently operates the Grove Tobacco store in the space. The property is zoned planned business district, and sales of low potency hemp edibles are a conditional use in this district. The property and the business must comply with City Code Title 11-418, and the business will be over 1,000 feet from other cannabis and low potency uses as required. The applicant and the property does meet all other city codes and city standards for the low potency hemp edible uses. The applicant must also obtain a city registration and approval from the council and the Office of Cannabis Management before conducting sales on site. The Office of Cannabis Management has been overseeing the enactment of Statute 342 since 2023. Low potency hemp edible retailers are required to register with the state, and the applicant already has a registration with the state and is here for their conditional use permit. And following this, the city council will also need to approve their city registration. After all of that, the applicant may sell the low-potency hemp edibles. There are going to be some changes to the state's registration process coming up this fall. However, the applicant is already in the system, so it will be a quicker changeover for them. With that being said, the recommendation is on the screen for your consideration. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff?
I have one.
Commissioner Fisher?
Hi. I'm wondering, I know that there were we're still trying to figure out all this cannabis stuff, right? But there was something about proximity to schools and things, and the bus garage is like right next door. Does that have any bearing on this at all?
Yeah, so Commissioner Fisher, very good question. So the low potency edibles do not need to meet those setbacks from schools, parks, treatment centers, all of that kind of stuff. Just kind of diving in even further here, the bus garage would not be considered a school structure by definition that a full potency cannabis business would need to meet the distance requirements for, but that is not what the applicant is here for tonight. It's just that low potency, so.
Thank you.
Any further questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, if the applicant is present, would like to add anything additional.
I'm sorry.
Right up here, sorry. We got to get you in front of a mic. If you could just state your name and address, your business address is fine.
Yes, my name is Mike Tadal, and I'm a resident at 6419 Edgemont Circle North in Brooklyn Park. My business address is 8599 West Point Douglas Road, and that's Suite 200 in Cottage Grove. I just wanted to, explain a little bit more about the low potency. It didn't seem like there was anybody on the council, on your member board that had any questions. But the low potency is not, let me just explain about myself. I am a student at St. Paul College. That is, I'm in the process of getting certification for cannabis retail. And so they have classes that help us understand how to, what is in our product and how it affects people and how to best explain the effect to people. And the product itself is probably controlled a lot more than a lot of other product that is available out there in the stores that is not regulated currently by the state, like, for example, Kratom or, things like that are still need to be regulated. But again, the process, what I wanted to just share with you is that I'm not just somebody who's just decided to, hey, I'm gonna sell this product and make money off of it, and then I don't care about the community. That's completely opposite. It's I really truly believe that this product can help a lot of people that are taking medications. For example, I know from a recent study that the highest increase in consumption of low potency hemp was in the senior population of Minnesota, 67% increase just last year since it's been passed. So just basically just an intro about myself and that I really know what I'm doing with this product. I'm not gonna be reckless with it. So that's about it. And if there's anybody that has any questions for me, I'll be more than happy to explain a little further. I don't want to go on a rant here and nonstop, but yeah. So does anybody have any questions?
All right, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Bott?
So my question is regarding what's the difference here? What when you refer as hemp, is that cannabis in pure form, or is it just
So
it's an extraction of?
great question. Great question. hemp is, so cannabis is the marijuana plant, and hemp is one of the, it's the plant itself, but it's not, there's levels of potency. So for example, in alcohol, you know how they sell 3-2 beer at a gas station, for example, and you get the regular beer at a liquor store. So hemp, this low potency hemp is the type of, is that type of marijuana, a plant that you would find at that's equivalent to the 3-2 beer that you would find at a gas station. Again, hemp is marijuana, but it's not the street type, you know, the stuff you can buy from someone off the street. At the same time, there are different, to your question, there are different levels, not just levels, but like there are different types of hemp. So there's the THC, the CBD is a form of hemp, but it's a very different plant and a different seed, a strain of seed that is grown in the ground to give that potency. The average potency of a street marijuana plant is between 23 to 35%. So that's the THC that is contained in the flower. And with hemp, it could be 2%. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that good? Okay.
Commissioner Steckman.
I was just curious, the lower potency hemp, is that sometimes referred to as Delta 8 or Delta 9 or something along those lines?
Great question. Yes, yes, it is. It's referred to Delta 8, sometimes referred to Delta 9. It's sometimes referred to, it's also could be a combination of the two. So it could be CBD plus the Delta 9 or Delta 8 or even Delta 8. And I don't know if you remember, there was a Delta 7 back then. And there are certain grams of that hemp that is required, that is the state allows the maximum to be in a product. So right now you can't get any product that has more than 10 milligrams of THC or hemp or Delta 8 or 9, and yeah, there's a Delta 8 plus so and so. There's many acronyms to it that can get a little confusing here, but you're right.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any more questions?
Any further questions? All right, thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
At this time, we'll open public hearing on the application. Anyone wishing to speak for or against the application can step to the podium. All right, seeing none, we will close public hearing. Any further discussion by commission? Okay, seeing none, I would look for a motion then.
I will make a motion to approve the conditional use permit, subject to the stipulations in the staff report.
All right, I have a motion to approve, subject to conditions in the report by Commissioner Fisher. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Steckman. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. 6B tonight is 61 Marine and Sports, cases SP and CUP 2025-018, with Sam again presenting.
Yes, thank you. All right. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I am also bringing to you tonight 61 Marine and Sports, which has applied for a site plan review for a 50 by 80 foot building addition and a CUP for a recreational vehicle business at their existing location, 11730 Point Douglas Drive, on approximately 12 acres of land zoned B3 General Business District. This use has a lengthy history, as most would know. The use was a legal nonconformity with permit approvals dating back to 1984. In 2015, all of those previous approvals were rescinded and a new CUP was approved and site plan and minor subdivision. Between 2018 and 2021, there were various building additions, business expansions, and lot line adjustments. And with each of these changes, an amended permit was approved to expand that non-conforming use. Some commissioners may also recall the rezoning and map updates of 2022. This property was included in that to rezone the property from B2 to B3, that general business district, where the use as it, with the recreational vehicles and boats and everything, is a conditional use. So with the proposed building addition, now is the right time for the owner to obtain that conditional use permit instead of another expansion of a legal nonconformity. The proposed addition would be for boat detailing and cleaning on the east side of an existing building, and the materials of the buildings facing Highway 61 must all match. The materials should match the existing materials used on that existing building. There is no impervious being added to the site since this is being constructed over an existing parking lot. There are 3 stormwater basins on the property that were designed to handle the existing impervious surface coverage when all of those permits were being approved. The 2019 CUP required a 10-foot wide side yard setback from that east property line where you see a majority of the boat storage, and that vegetative screening be installed within that setback. When the adjacent parcel to the east fully develops, staff would there's a condition included in the report that if that existing berm and vegetation were to go away, that new vegetation and screening be installed within that 10-foot setback. Today, the applicant is required and has proposed 11 coniferous trees down in that southeast corner there along 61, Highway 61 and Pond 2. With that, the recommendation is on the screen for your consideration tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? All right, thank you. At this time, if the applicant would like to approach and add anything additional. He's waving from the back that he's okay. All right. At this time, I will open public hearing on the application. Anyone wishing to speak for or against the application can step to the podium. All right, seeing none, we will close public hearing. Any discussion by commission? Commissioner Britton.
We have a letter that was given to us from Teresa Williams. Could you comment on the concern that they have about the lighting
Sure,
that
Commissioner
currently
Britton.
exists and how this may affect it or not?
Sure, of course. Commissioner Britton, Mr. Chair. The letter was in reference to the residential houses that are across Highway 61 from the property. It seems that some lighting that is not downward directed, that is kind of flooding the parking lot, has been installed over the years. It is the city's code that all lighting in the commercial districts not exceed it's a 1-foot candle at properties adjoining commercial and industrial and a 1/2-foot candle adjoining residential. However, taking into consideration, we do understand Highway 61, a 4-lane road, is in between these two. However, all lights should be downward directed, and that is included in a condition in your packet that all lighting be installed to city standards. And we would require the applicant to do that with the existing lighting on the property at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I did not see the front of that letter that indicated, or front of that email that indicated it was an email. And so that'll be part of the record for this application as well. And same, I guess the only other thing I was gonna ask then about that is, so there's a condition that, I see condition 15 that was added about outdoor lighting shall be directed downward as part of city ordinance. Going forward, is that then just incumbent on code enforcement then to make sure that that city code is being followed as with respect to this issue?
Right, Mr. Chair, that would be correct. Also, there is the opportunity for us to require a lighting plan, or a photometric plan, where the applicant would show us that that 1/2-foot candle is being met at property lines. So there are other things that we can also look into as well.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion from commission? I guess I'll just add, I've been on city council, or I've been on city council, I've been on the planning commission now since 2018. And so I've seen 61 Marine and Sports come through several times, as we saw in the application. I'm glad they're a business in the community that's still growing and doing more business. And so I'm glad to see them work out with the city this application. So with that, I would look for a motion.
Motion to approve, subject to conditions stipulated in the staff report.
I have a motion to approve, subject to conditions by Commissioner Britton. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Fisher. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. 6C tonight is the Almar Village Parking, case V 2025-017 with Sam again presenting.
Yes, you can't get rid of me. All right, tonight Kurt Hoffman, on behalf of Almar Village LLC, has applied for variances for a parking lot expansion 2 feet from the east property line and an increase in impervious surface coverage on the Almar Village commercial site. The property owner owns only a 2.42 acre property, zoned B1 Limited Business District. And this entire property, which is encompassed of 5 total parcels, is located in a planned unit development, the Almar Village Development. The applicant, as I mentioned, owns the 2.4 acre parcel, which houses the multi-tenant building, home to Carboni's, Subway, and future home to a Mexican restaurant in the 2 northern tenant spaces, as proposed by the applicant. We also have the Holiday gas station, a retail space, and a vacant lot there. So the applicant owns the green box on your screen. There are a total of 155 parking spaces on site. Customers to any of the businesses may use any of the parking spaces to go to any of the businesses per their approved planned unit development shared parking agreement. 184 total spaces are required based on the uses and proposed use of a restaurant in this development. In 2016, Carboni's expanded into a adjacent tenant space, and there was a proof of parking shown at that time for 19 additional spaces 2 feet from the east property line along Keats Avenue. That was approved as a variance in 2016 with the condition that the parking situation be looked at within 1 year, and if parking was an issue, that the additional parking spaces be added. That there are no documents saying that that was documented as an issue at the time, so the spaces were never constructed and the variance expired, hence why we are here today. The applicant is proposing to install those 19 spaces 2 feet from the property line in the same location as was proposed in 2016. Impervious surface is limited to 70% of a site in the B1 district, so that would be on this single applicant's 2.4 acre parcel, 70%. Currently, there's 85% impervious surface, and the additional parking will add 3.4%. Back in 2016 and around 2001, when this development was very first approved, there were no impervious surface standards in our zoning code. However, the existing pond, which is located west of Jorgensen Lane, was designed to accommodate 6.3 acres of impervious. Adding this parking area of 19 spaces will equal 6.3 acres of impervious, so no additional stormwater mitigation is needed. And with that, the recommendation is on the screen for you.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff? Commissioner Britton?
The parking spaces that are in the southeast corner of the property, which is not part of the 2.4 acres, if that parcel were to develop at some point in time, I know it's kind of small, how would that impact if whatever business were to go on that parcel required the entire site have more parking spaces?
Right, so.
What would happen?
Commissioner Britton, very good question. So we're discussing this box in the red down in the southeast corner. Should a business or something come in there that requires more parking spaces than is currently provided on their individual piece, we would be looking at, as you can see, there is fewer parking spaces than are required on the site today. So what we do is we look at their use and we look at things like peak hours of business. So for example, the 2 restaurants on site are going to need these parking spaces roughly at the same time of the day versus, say, a hair salon or nail salon that is in there. If that were to go on this vacant parcel, they need the parking spaces at a different time of the day. So we are able to kind of look at peak hours and things like that, but technically each space or each tenant space needs to have parking to satisfy their particular use. So without knowing what somebody would come in and ask for, it's hard to say. It's very much a situation-based request, I
So
would
if
say.
it was a high parking need, then probably couldn't go in there, but it wouldn't prevent some type of use from going in there if it had a balance between the hours and that use.
Yeah, Commissioner Britton, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sam, sorry, if we can go back to, that photo. Right there. So this is a rendering then of what it would look like or what the approval was back when it was first approved. And so the green circle is kind of, these are the parking spots that they want to add. And I know you said it was 2 feet from the property line is where these spots end.
Yes.
And then there is the right-of-way, and within the right-of-way, there is a walking trail that does bend towards the parking lot. How, do we know how close the parking spots are gonna be to that walking trail? At its closest spot?
Mr. Chair, very good question. I did not measure that. However, so the 2 feet plus, I would only be guessing if I had to say the trail is maybe 4 or 5 feet off of that property line there, so at least 5 feet, but that would only be a
Okay.
guess.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. I don't like to play stump the planner, but
Good job.
just a concern of mine that it does bend towards the parking lot right where those spots are gonna go. And it doesn't sound like we're gonna get any screening or any fencing or anything, which makes sense because it would not fit the rest of the character of the area, but just a concern of mine that's gonna be pretty close then to that walking trail. Any further questions by anyone else? Commissioner Fisher?
I was trying to find in here, I read that there's like a shared parking agreement amongst all of the businesses there. Is that gonna change anything about that agreement? Because I know that there are other places that I won't name, but one near me where I know that there are like kind of fights between the establishments with parking, right? And there's, I don't know, if anyone's on the Facebook page, they know all about the drama. But I'm just wondering, with 2 restaurants there, and you think about peak time, and you think about all of that, is the city gonna require some sort of agreement amongst all of them to play nice, or how does that work? Because I could see that becoming an issue.
Yeah, Commissioner Fisher, very good question. I am not on the Facebook page, so,
You're missing out apparently.
I mean,
so, like I kind of mentioned, this owner owns the 2 restaurants, or will own the 2 restaurants, which are kind of the major parking gatherers, if you will, of the property.
sure.
With the gas station being the second one. However, it's kind of more, as we all know, a transient come and go. And then the retail space, which is, as I mentioned before, the peak hours are going to be different. In my conversations with the owner, unfortunately, he couldn't make it tonight. They all work well together with this shared parking agreement. They all understand that you can park on any of these parcels. You will be able to park in his new spaces and go to the gas station if you really wanted to walk that far.
Right.
And there's been no issues with them as of yet with the current owners, I'll say.
Okay.
Any further questions? Commissioner Bott?
Regarding that vacant parcel, it seems to have some parking areas in it. So why is it called vacant then? So,
Commissioner Bott, good question. So I considered it vacant since there's not a commercial use or structure on the site. Right now, it's solely being used for parking, and mostly people who are visiting the Carboni's restaurant, I would say, are parking in that space. So right now there's not a structure or a commercial use taking place on the property. It's solely at-grade parking.
So if there is going to be a structure coming up there, can it occupy any of those parking areas?
So they would be able to count those few parking spaces towards their use. However, then we would be taking away those parking spaces from the Carbonis, this restaurant use. And it kind of leads back to Commissioner Britton's question where we're talking about what type of use would go here. And without just spitballing various ideas, we would need to be looking at what are the peak hours of operation for such a use? How much parking are they needed based on the use based on our ordinance? It's very hard to kind of imagine what could ever possibly go there. And as mentioned, it is a fairly small parcel as well.
I guess my question was, can in that new parcel, in the vacant parcel, can they build anything on the existing parking area so that those will be no longer parking spaces? They would be, something else will come up on them. So then you're short of parking areas.
Okay. So that would kind of lend back, they would then be taking away the parking from not only themselves, but also from the other uses on the site. And so technically, if they met all of the setbacks, all of our city ordinance requirements, you could construct a building that meets setbacks and everything like that on that vacant parcel. However, again, it's hard to envision something that isn't in front of us right now as a proposal. But yes, somebody could construct a building over those parking stalls and those would then be removed from the site.
Thank you.
I have a question about stormwater maintenance, so maybe our city engineering department, and since Commissioner Stevens isn't here, I will talk about the stormwater. So I know Sam pointed out that the retaining basin that's on the other side of Jorgensen Lane was set up to accommodate 6.3 acres, and this is gonna get us to 6.3 acres. I'm assuming that is is that based on like the 100-year estimates that could keep the 6.3 acre amount of water that would be diverted from the site, or?
Yeah, Chair, yeah, that's a great question. The stormwater design for this site it's based on several different storms based on our surface water management plan. So yes, the 100-year storm is evaluated in those conditions, and that additional impervious acreage that would be included from these parking stalls was accounted for in that 100-year calculation for the current stormwater pond that's on the site.
Okay, so even though we are getting up to the 6.3 acre limit, that's not a concern because it is built to handle a very unlikely scenario with respect to that area.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, that is correct.
Okay.
We're getting up to what it was designed to accommodate in the first place.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I have a
That's
question.
spurring other questions? Commissioner Fisher?
And I don't know if you guys, because the applicant isn't here, so you might not be able to answer, but would there ever be a time when instead of considering expanding the parking lot, the capacity of the restaurant that's coming in would be less? Because, I mean, that might be, and like I said, you may not be able to answer it because he's not
Right,
here, but.
so, yeah, Commissioner Fisher, good question. So the capacity of the restaurant, of course, is how we calculate the needed parking spaces. It was brought up to the applicant that the restaurant could reduce the number of seats to hit or get much closer to that required parking number without adding these parking spaces. However, just, of course, as most of us know, from a business standpoint, reducing the number of seats, it was a very large number of seats they would have needed to reduce by almost half just to get to the required parking number on site where they wouldn't need to add these.
Sure, that makes sense. It just, the part of the variance thing, the economic part of it is, I guess, what I'm hung up on. Like, you know, when we grant a variance, economics are not supposed to be
Sure.
factored in, right? And so when you have a restaurant coming in and you have to have X amount of capacity in order for it to be economically viable,
Yeah.
you know, just have to consider that.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I'll just kind of piggyback. Restaurants are a permitted use, and so, you know, had this met all of the parking standards and everything, staff would have, you know, said, go forth and open your restaurant and everything. We are just really trying, because we know as staff and as commissioners and everything, that parking in this lot is quite challenging. And so now seemed like the time to, with this 2016 variance, to let's get that added, because we're going to be having another restaurant on the site.
Is there any plan for, because there's residential area right to the west of there, is there any plan, are there no parking signs on that street already? Or is there gonna be measures taken to not hinder the residents either? Because I would assume that this parking lot would overflow at some point. I mean,
Commissioner Fisher, I'm not sure that I don't think there's no parking signs on Jorgensen.
just thinking about, you know, where is the overflow gonna go? It's gonna go on those residential streets that are,
I can answer
back
that
there.
question for you. There is
So-
nothing posted on Jorgensen that says no parking.
okay,
There actually are overflow parkers who use that now.
Right.
And one of the concerns under consideration is the space that would leave for emergency vehicles,
Right.
should they need to access that area. You know, you think about a bar and a restaurant, sometimes that's something that you have to think about, so.
Right.
But there's no posting on it now. It's certainly something that could be recommended.
right, I was just gonna say, maybe that's something that, you know, can be considered if it becomes a problem, if things get jammed up there. I don't know how the city would go about keeping an eye on that or whatever, but just a thought.
Commissioner Bob?
I have a quick question. So where is the Mexican restaurant going to come? Is it in the big building or the one in front of the holiday station?
Yes, it is in the big building. It's going to take up 2 tenant spaces. I can see if this pen, right on the north side of the building here. So they will have the outdoor patio area accessible for them as well out there.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
I was going to ask,
Commissioner Seckman?
thank you. So when exiting onto 70th Street from Jorgensen there, before, at some point in time, there was a pork chop that prevented people from turning left to head westbound on 70th Street, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And that is since removed, so now that restriction has kind of been removed, and so people can turn either left or right onto 70th Street?
That's
Is
also
that, that's probably true?
The
Okay.
county took that out.
So, with the increased number of parking spaces and the increased demand for this space, with the new restaurant coming in, is there going to be concerns about increased traffic spilling out onto 70th Street, especially with respect to the property that abuts it to the north?
Yes. Commissioner Semmett, I will allow Crystal Raleigh, the Assistant City Engineer, to come up. I know she was preparing for this question.
Okay.
Commissioner Steckman, members of the Planning Commission. Yeah, this is a situation that will continue to be monitored by the county as additional developments go in and change the way that this is used. Currently, their guidance regarding this intersection has been to, and I won't get to it with the Cedarhurst discussion, but to align this access from Jorgensen to the north with the Cedarhurst driveway. That makes that intersection safer for a variety of reasons by aligning that. Those left turning movements can operate much more freely. We also have the benefit of having a left turn lane into both of these properties, so that stacking isn't, on the main throughway. But the county does have the ability to limit this access if it does become problematic in the future. So they could limit it to that right in, right out in the future.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions? Sam, I do have just one more question for you. And I have not been to this parking lot in a while. So I don't remember, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the entire lot is kind of surrounded by curb. So my question is, if that is the case, are these new spots going to have curb to prevent them from going onto the grass and the right of way where Keats is? Or is it just gonna be pavement right up to, like, basically at level with the grass?
Mr. Chair, very good question. So they would need to be installing the curb and everything like that, per the city standards for parking lots and
Okay,
everything.
all right, thank you. And then you said applicant is not here tonight, or?
Correct.
Okay, all right. With that, then, we will open public hearing on this application. Anyone wishing to speak for or against the application can step to the podium. Seeing none, we will close public hearing on the application. Any further discussion by commission? I guess I kind of highlighted, I have some real concerns with the parking abutting the walking trail, and just how close it's gonna be. I think as, Councilmember Olson indicated, you know, bars and restaurants are sometimes places that, emergency vehicles need to get to. Bars and restaurants are also places that serve alcohol and people then drive away from. And when they do that, they're not always the most careful drivers. And so I think getting that close to the public right of way, especially where there is a device designed for people to be walking on, I think is a concern that I have about extending this parking into that area. So that is my personal concern about it. Anyone else who wish to discuss?
I actually was going to say that. I'm wondering if there's any sort of, instead of just a curb, if this does go through, like, is there some sort of something, I don't know, like outside Target, there's the big red balls, right? Like, is there something that can be put along that side of the parking lot to maybe help protect from cars going too far, or, I mean,
Commissioner, for something like bollards or something like that.
I don't know what they're called, pork chops, I don't know. That's the one, that's
Yeah,
the term thing.
bollards, yeah.
I don't know, a stake, something that would stop a vehicle that's going where it's not supposed to be.
Yeah,
Maybe that could be something added to it, or, I
that
don't know.
is, the commission's purview could be to add that as a possible condition for the overall safety.
Commissioner Britton?
So in regards to that, I could see there being some issues with something along those lines, even though there might be value added in it. And, you know, I would think that we'd want to evaluate whether moving the trail would be a better solution for that than putting in a guardrail, so to speak, whether it's bollards or not. And maybe have staff evaluate what the best option for safety is there versus forcing them into something with the particular application.
You can't put that trail closer to Keats, though.
Well, it is closer to Keats on 50% of it. That is significantly farther in than the rest of it. So it's just a thought.
Right.
Any further discussion? Yeah, I mean, I understand the commercial realities of the parking and needing it, and, you know, if you're gonna have now 2 restaurants in there in what is already a busy parking lot, obviously you need to have places for people to park legally, because then I think the issue on Jorgensen gets worse if you don't. Because people aren't just gonna not go there, they're just gonna find other places to put their car that are probably not as a great place to put it. So I think if it does go through and the commission votes to recommend city council to approve it, I would ask if staff and the applicant could work together on what is a workable way to make sure that pedestrians and people who are on the walking trail are protected. Because I agree, putting bollards, obviously, that's the one that, you know, they stop cars because they're either metal or they're concrete, but in this area, I think they would look odd, and, you know, I don't know how effective or, you know, they would be, but I think there should be some kind of consideration that the applicant should put forward in making sure that this is not gonna become a nuisance or a problem, so. Commissioner Brennan?
I agree. And another option may be some of the standardized fencing that we have around patios and things along those lines. While it wouldn't forcibly stop a vehicle from moving forward, but it would be an additional optical recognition from anybody getting in their car that there's something in front of them, and maybe subconsciously have them think about that. But just to consider the different options that are available for making it as safe as possible.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Anything else? Otherwise, I would look for a motion.
I'll motion to approve based on the findings of fact, subject to the conditions stipulated in the staff report, with the additional request that staff review the trail placement and safety of that parking area, and what can be done, if anything, to make it as safe as possible as it moves forward, and then present that to the city council to get their consideration on that as well.
All right, I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Britton, subject to the conditions in the staff report, as well as the added condition. Do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Steckman. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Move to 6D, which is Cedarhurst, cases ZA, HCUP, and SP 2025-020 with Emily presenting.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, we're going to switch it up here a little, give Sam a little bit of a break. I have quite the story to tell, so hang tight with me. We've kind of got a team effort here, but the Cedarhurst Mansion, which is located at 70th Street and Keats Avenue. For those of you who are unaware, it is technically two separate parcels that the applicant is taking a look at, the mansion parcel as well as the Gardener's Cottage. You'll learn more about that as I continue on with the presentation. So a little bit of background. There's a large history here, and I am only going to scratch the very, very, very surface. However, the Cedarhurst Mansion was built sometime around the 1860s, obviously very prevalent here in the community. Sometime around in the 70s, it was approved. We did dig up in our files that it was approved to be utilized as a catering establishment per se, and then property owner after that did get approval to operate events and weddings, which was most notably the recent activity at the mansion. Sometime around 2020, 2021, the current property owner did purchase the site. They did propose a potential redevelopment of the site, which did fizzle out, and they are now working with the applicant before you this evening, Bella Gala, on a proposal to utilize the site for events and weddings year-round, navigating both inside the mansion as well as outside the mansion. Bella Gala, I believe, was founded in Minnesota. I'm looking, God, I got a thumbs up, yes. And they do operate, I believe, in 12 states. They just told me today, several boutique wedding and event centers throughout the Twin Cities area as well. And so looking at the mansion, they do in fact have a vision for the site. As I mentioned, also the Gardener's Cottage next door on the other parcel. I'm going to kind of separate this presentation out just a little bit, as there are a lot of moving parts, and so I want to make sure that I'm able to make clear the use of the site versus the site improvements that are coming along with that. So how do we get there? How do we get to the point where we can allow for events and weddings? We have to start with aligning the zoning with the comprehensive plan. So those of you that have heard my spiel before, we do have the comp plan, the 2040 land use plan that guides us, that tells us where we are going. And so this particular site, we've always generally envisioned as a little bit of a commercial node. As you can see on the image to the left, you've got a little bit of pink there. That is our mixed use district, which allows for a variety of different types of uses. So that's what we've always envisioned on this corner. And then you can see there's a little shade of yellow just next door to the pink in that northwest corner. That is the Gardener's Cottage site, excuse me, that is guided for residential. So one of the requests this evening is to re-guide the mansion site to align with the 2040 comprehensive plan of mixed use.
and re-guide the Gardener's Cottage site to R3, which is single-family residential, which aligns with the comprehensive plan.
Emily, can I just ask, I apologize.
Okay, yeah.
We're rezoning, not re-guiding, right?
Rezoning, did I use the term re-guide? Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the clarification. We are rezoning from current agricultural to mixed use and to R3. Appreciate the clarification. Yes. So once we've rezoned, we need to look at how we can allow for this use within these two particular zoning districts. So I'm actually going to work through the use of the site, and then we'll get into the specifics of the improvements to the site. But the request this evening is for historical conditional use permits. I'm trying to think of the last one we've done. It's been several years, but it is a tool in our toolbox from a planning perspective that allows us to recognize when we have historically significant properties. Typically, they're on the National Register or they're on the local historic register, and it gives us the ability to say, hey, this is a unique property. We want to make sure we have the opportunity to preserve it. How can we be creative in doing that? And it might be a unique use on a site that you wouldn't necessarily see that use operate. So within the mixed use zoning district, event centers are a permitted use with a conditional use permit. However, they are requesting a historical conditional use permit in this particular situation. And I'll give you the details of that a little bit further on in the presentation. An HCUP is also would allow for the Gardener's Cottage to operate in conjunction with the mansion from a historic perspective. The cottage is on our priority list from a historic perspective. We would love for it to be on our registry. Therefore, as a part of this HCUP request, that parcel would also need to be added to the local register. As I mentioned, I am only going to brush the surface of the restoration details of the mansion. Specifically, the applicant has assembled a team that has done a deep dive into what that restoration would look like, and they're actually going to provide some more specifics and details. But what I can tell you is a little bit of history here. If you recall, back in 2021, 2022, as we were looking at redevelopment of the site, New History, who is a history consultant, helped us to create some guidelines that said, hey, we have all these significant components of the site, both the mansion and the Gardener's Cottage. If we are to have someone redevelop or use the site, here are the guidelines to follow for those components that should be preserved and maintained. So what I will say is, as the applicant has worked through, they are working on a submittal, actually they've already submitted to SHPO to apply for state historic tax credits. And that process aligns very closely with the guidelines that New History provided as a guide for the city. So those are the interior and exterior improvements that will align with those guidelines. Most notably on the site, they are proposing an addition to the mansion, which they are calling the atrium, so you'll hear that term, but that is where they are proposing to host the receptions, etc. As you can see, it extends out and is connected to the mansion in the image, or the rendering, I should say, before you. On the interior, I don't know the last time you've all been in the mansion, but I can tell you it certainly does not meet ADA requirements to allow for everyone to come in and enjoy. So I know that most specifically, the improvements inside the mansion will be ensuring that folks are able to get in and out from a safety perspective as well, with those fire sprinkler systems, widening some hallways, and ensuring that there is an elevator that is functionable. A huge topic of discussion as we evaluated the potential for redevelopment of the site was most notably ensuring that we could preserve the rose garden as well as the great lawn out in front of the mansion. So I wanted to highlight the rose garden will actually be one of the most notable ceremony locations proposed on the site. So the applicant is proposing to restore the garden wall and some of those unique aspects that do contribute to that historic nature of the Rose Garden. In addition to the Rose Garden, the applicant is proposing some additional outdoor ceremony locations, one kind of on the north side, and then one, of course, in that great lawn. Again, as we evaluated these outdoor ceremony spaces, we wanted to make certain that they were, I'm going to say, being protected, and we were identifying noise mitigation and any other impacts that that could have to adjacent properties. And so all of these are anywhere between 75 to 100, 150 feet away from adjacent properties. And we've got, I think my next slide actually references and provides a great image of that existing mature tree buffer that extends around, most notably, the west side and the north side. And then, of course, we've got the lilac bushes and other vegetation on the south and east side. So the applicant is maintaining all of that tree buffer and maintaining hours of operation that do align with our code, ending at 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and midnight Friday through Saturday, and of course, no outdoor receptions. It's important to note, yes, there will be amplified music per se during the ceremonies, but again, no later than 10 p.m. and those receptions are actually taking place all indoors on the site. And finally, with the site removal in reference to preservation of the historic nature, there are several buildings on the site that have been there for quite some time. Obviously, notably, like this barn does not look like this any longer. It has since collapsed. But it's important to note that the barn, the chicken coop, and the shed and the stable were identified in New History's report as contributing to the historic nature. However, to be practical in saying it's just not realistic to preserve these buildings. They will likely be removed. However, the garage, the applicant does have some visions for how that could be utilized as part of perhaps a second phase as they start to improve the site. So as I mentioned, the Gardener's Cottage is a separate parcel where the applicant is proposing to rezone to R3, which is single-family residential. However, given the applicant is intending to submit to have this parcel on the city's local historic register, an HCUP is also being requested, which would allow for the use to be in conjunction with the event center. The applicant is not proposing huge renovations to the house at this given moment. Again, likely maybe a second phase to their renovations, but they would like to utilize the house kind of as a staff headquarters, a meeting location for their teams, etc. But the bulk of the activity will be on the Cedarhurst mansion site. So that limited commercial venture as proposed per our code is permitted with that historic conditional use permit. Okay, adjustments to the site. So here's your overall site plan. As I mentioned, most notably, the atrium addition is going to be your biggest adjustment to the site. We've got a shifting of a driveway. I'm going to get into the details of that, as well as some widening of the driveway through the site itself for emergency service purposes, parking, and then that utility connection as they increase the intensity of the use on site. So access, and actually in the previous application, we actually touched on it, which is great. But as you can see, the site currently has access from 70th Street and has access on Keats Avenue. So the access on Keats Avenue is limited to a right-in, right-out. There is a median that extends from the roundabout up north. On 70th Street, it is actually currently a full access. However, the applicant and the county, actually under the county's direction, has indicated if that driveway shifts to the west to align with Jorgensen Avenue, they will align and create that free flow as Assistant City Engineer Crystal had indicated previously. It's a better flow of traffic as folks are coming in and out of both Jorgensen and the driveway. So the applicant will be shifting, ensuring that they're maintaining that 10-foot setback from that adjacent property line with the access as well as the driveway. As they utilize this access over time, if it is recognized, again, by the county, 70th and Keats are both county roads, that this needs to be a limited access. Again, as Assistant City Engineer Chris O'Reilly indicated, they could extend that median and limit that access at 70th. Which would then trigger, you can see up in the northeast corner, there's that green outline, would be a shifted driveway to provide perhaps a full access at Keats Avenue, given there is a right and left turn lane there. But again, at this given moment, there are 2 left turn lanes on 70th that allow folks in and out to Jorgensen, as well as the mansion site. Therefore, the access is supported by both the city and the county. As I mentioned, they are proposing to widen the driveway through the site. Again, if you haven't been out there lately, there are some parts that do get quite narrow. So our public safety folks have guided to ask that we have that 20-foot width that will support all of the equipment in the case of an emergency that could access out there. Parking on the site is being met to our minimum standard, which is 79 parking spaces when we do the calculation as outlined. What's unique is that we are proposing overflow parking as well as permanent parking. Permanent parking is being proposed in 2 different instances. I believe it's 24 parking spaces are proposed to be paved. But again, when we look at the historic nature of the site, the applicant has dedicated themselves to finding a unique way to preserve as much of the site as possible in more of a natural way. Therefore, they have proposed to keep the majority of the parking spaces as grass. However, don't panic. We've worked with them, and there are products out there that hold the topsoil in place while letting it still be a green surface, for lack of a better way to put it. You can plow it, you can maintain it. The weather doesn't impact it as much, and so it allows for that parking space on more of a natural surface without pavement and/or Class 5. So the applicant is proposing, as you can see, kind of in that would that be southeast corner of the site, the majority of that parking will be utilizing that turf reinforcement mat. And then you can see some overflow parking spaces that are proposed just along the driveway, just adjacent to the addition. No proposed improvements there. At this given moment, again, the applicant will give some more details into the valet parking and other parking processes that they utilize as a part of their events to make sure that things are running smoothly and flow throughout the site. As I indicated, the applicant is proposing to connect to city sewer and water, which exists in 69th Street to the west. So they will connect to that stub and run a private service to the mansion. They will crush the current septic and cap the well. In this unique situation, both of these parcels will be under common ownership. However, we always have to think the what ifs, right? And given they're 2 separate parcels, we will require that an easement be over top of that private service because it does run through the gardener's cottage parcel. We want to make sure that whomever long-term owns that mansion parcel is able to maintain that private utility that runs through that parcel. As with all of our projects that propose additional impervious, the stormwater is required to be managed. The applicant is working through providing that filtration basin. This is within our wellhead protection area, so infiltration is not permitted, so it will be more of a lined pond, but they'll be able to manage that runoff on site. As I had mentioned, there are quite large amount of mature trees throughout the site that the applicant is proposing to preserve. No mitigation is going to be required with the improvements to the site. It is important to recognize the landscaping that they are proposing. When we calculate our landscaping, we take a look at the area that they're technically improving on the site. We run our coefficient calculation for those commercial projects. And in this instance, it is a minimal amount of landscaping that is required to be planted. But as you can see, the applicant is planting above and beyond trees and shrubs within the site. And finally, I have to indicate the applicant did bring their request before the ACHP, or the Advisory Commission on Historic Preservation, back in June, who did support with a 5-0 vote of their request to utilize the site as a wedding and event venue, as well as the improvements to the site and to the mansion. The applicant also held a neighborhood meeting on July 15th. I would say about 30 folks came to the mansion. It was a great opportunity for them to actually see the mansion and be on the site and help understand what the applicant was proposing. Overall, it was a good turnout and a good conversation at that meeting. So with that, I am going to leave the recommendation for just a brief moment. However, the applicant with Balagala, JJ, is also here, and he is going to share some more details of the improvements, as I had promised, to understand better that restoration effort to the mansion.
All right, thank you. Annalee, can we do questions to you before we?
Ooh,
Sorry,
absolutely.
JJ.
Yeah. Yeah.
Commissioner Britton.
Question number one, caretaker, cottage, and gardener's house. Are those the same thing?
Technically, yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Britton.
So if you could maybe be consistent, because it got a little confusing in there. It almost sounded like the gardener's house, somebody just owned it and they were going to stay living there. But then this caretaker thing was going to potentially be utilized for some sort of function, even though it wasn't owned. So there was a little bit of confusion there. In regards to that, so that separate property that has the gardener's house on it has some potential use for it and is not owned by this entity that is buying the Cedarhurst part of it?
Oh, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, the current landowner owns both parcels, and the applicant is proposing to purchase both parcels.
Okay, yeah, I didn't get that from the staff report, so that is a good clarification. With respect to the drainage, is that a little pond that's to the right, little holding area to the right of the impervious parking lot? Or is that, it wasn't quite, yeah, right there?
Yeah.
So that's for water storage there as well? Okay, and then, yeah, so I was gonna ask about ghost platting that other property, but if you're gonna own it all and you don't, there isn't somebody that's living there that's gonna do something else with it, then I don't have a concern with that. So that satisfies my questions at this time. Thank you.
Hey, any further questions for staff? Commissioner Bowden.
So why are these two parcels zones differently, like in the comprehensive plan? And is there, I mean, can we amend it and then call both of them as mixed use
Yes.
instead of having that confusion?
Sure. Mr. Chair, Commissioner Bott, long-term, it was always envisioned that this would remain as a single-family home, likely due to its historic nature. It would give us the ability to preserve it as the home and preserve the home itself. However, yes, we could reevaluate long-term as we think about our 2050 comprehensive plan to align both of those parcels with the same guidance of mixed use.
I have a question.
Commissioner Fisher.
So about the cottage house only being used as like a staff, I don't know, sounds like a lunchroom kind of thing, right? But is there going to be a capacity assigned to that building because it's now going to become a commercial use? Capacity, what about like fire code things? Are they going to be able to rent that out for, let's say somebody wants to have a meeting? Like because that house is changing from a dwelling basically into a commercial business use, are any of those things being considered?
Yep, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Fisher, so that would be specific to the building code.
Right.
So from a zoning perspective, we recognize that it is still a single-family home, but we allow for this commercial use as they apply for permits to do the improvements and what that use looks like and how they evaluate it from the state building code side. Commissioner Fisher, they will align with those standards.
Okay. Gotcha.
Commissioner Britton.
So in regards to that, if the gardener's cottage is still zoned as low residential, how does that fit into a business use?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Britton, so zoning is one standard, right, for how it can be utilized. But when you look at the building code, and I'm no building official, but I can tell you, they do look at how it is being utilized, and there are standards that align, even though it is technically a single-family home. If it's being used for a different type of use, it does need to meet those standards.
At some point, would they have the ability to, not that they would want to do this, but just so that we're prepared to subdivide that under its current zoning classification as low residential into more than one structure?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Britton, that is possible. They could submit for that application.
With the extension of the water and sewer from the cul-de-sac to the west, I'm assuming that would preclude building on that area?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Britton likely would impact how those lots may lay out.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I have
Commissioner
another
Bach.
question. Oh,
Sorry.
you go
I'll
first.
get to you.
So the stormwater pond that is proposed, that is for the additional impervious land coming from the parking lot, and just parking lot alone, or does it account for all the impervious land there?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Bott, I'm going to turn it over to Assistant City Engineer Krista Rowley to give just a little bit more of a detailed general overview of how the stormwater is laid out and evaluated on the site.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Bott. So the stormwater that is proposed on the site, which is just to the east of that new proposed impervious parking, that stormwater is to take care of any additional impervious that's being added to this site. So that would include the parking lot, the additional area on the driveway that's being added, as well as the roof for the 4,000 square foot addition. So that stormwater pond would be to accommodate all of the stormwater from the additional impervious for the whole site.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Fisher.
I don't know how to say my question. I'm trying to figure out how to word it. So with the cottage house, now Ken's got me thinking about developing it in the future. So it's going from Ag 2 to R3. Is there a different R we can put it under to kind of keep it? I don't know. I'm still trying to learn the new, like,
Sure.
you know.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Fisher, so it is a unique scenario in that we are proposing to rezone to R3, which is single-family residential. We want to make sure that aligns with the comprehensive plan. Now, hypothetically, a new property owner says, I would like to sell it. It would be a single-family residence, right? Someone could live there. Is there the potential for redevelopment? Certainly. The HCUP, the Historical Conditional Use Permit, is what gives us the ability to say, hey, we want to use it in conjunction with this other historic use, which lays over top of it, right? It does run with the land, so that opportunity is there. But we did want to be specific in our conditions that the commercial use was just that limited within the gardener's cottage.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Britton.
All right, I'm going to ask another question there because that spurned a thought. So the driveway for the gardener's cottage is now coming off of the new drive lane. If, for some unforeseen reason, that parcel was sold off and developed as something, would that require a access point on 70th Street? Or would they still continue to use that shared new driveway access with the commercial use?
Right. Mr. Chair, Commissioner Britton, likely if that parcel were to potentially, I'm going to say redevelop, it would take its access from 69th Street, the cul-de-sac
Okay,
to the west.
okay. All right, thank you.
All right, any further questions for staff?
All right, then I'm going to ask another one.
All right, Commissioner Britton.
All right, so access from 70th Street, I have some concern with, well, let me just ask you this. Coming east on 70th Street, we currently have a dedicated right into Almar, correct? And a through to go to the roundabout. And then going west, we currently have a dedicated left into Almar and a through. So 2 lanes going both directions. What's going to happen with people going east on 70th Street, since we don't have a dedicated left coming from that direction coming into the property, and because you no longer have a through, if traffic stops in order to enter this property and there's a backup on 70, waiting for people coming through the roundabout, then that's going to mean that traffic would potentially back up on 70th, correct?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Britton. So there's currently, if folks are headed east on 70th
Yeah,
and they're going to take a left into the site,
yeah.
there is currently a turn lane.
So there is a dedicated left and right going
Correct.
east. Okay, good. That's what I wanted, one of the things I wanted to clarify, so that's great. Now, going the other way, going west, is there going to potentially be a need for a right-hand dedicated turn? Because we have a dedicated left into Almar and a through. And my concern is if there might be a need for a dedicated right-hand turn lane into the property, and the storm holding area that we currently have there could potentially preclude, if that were necessary, to move the trail over to add a dedicated right-hand turn lane. So I guess I would phrase it this way. If we feel that there's a safety concern from traffic perspective that would require a right-hand turn lane, does that automatically trigger the north entrance point being invoked as an in and out from the military cul-de-sac? Or is there a way to do this in such that if we don't feel we need a right-hand turn lane right now, which I'm concerned about, because people whipping around that roundabout might not see people stopped or slowing down in order to turn right into this property. So I have a concern about that. So I see 2 solutions. One is a dedicated right-hand turn lane. And is there a way that we can make it feasible to add that if we don't feel that it's added now, but enable us to do it later, and keeping in mind that storm portion on the south part of the parking lot, the stormwater pond. If you put something there might be a problem with moving the trail so that you can put in a turn lane. So, or is it, we see that there's a problem, automatically we're going to have to put a new road in from the north?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Britton, 2 things. First, 70th is a county roadway, and it will be up to the county to identify when this particular intersection needs to be limited to that right in, right out on both the north and the south side. Number 2 is folks heading into the site taking a right. They're not limited by anything as they're pulling into that site, right? So that's a free flow of traffic into the Cedarhurst site. No, there is not a dedicated right turn lane as folks are headed west, turning into the site. However, there is nothing that stops them. So likely that backup wouldn't be an issue on 70th Street.
I'm not necessarily worried about a backup. I'm worried about you're traveling at, say, 35 miles an hour by the time you're at that point, and then you're slowing down to 0 to make the turn. There's that transition point of, I was flowing at 1 speed through the roundabout, and it's like, oh, now I got to turn right. It's the guy behind him that you're not stopped, but you also may not be paying attention because you're not. And so I just have a concern with the proximity distance from the entrance to the roundabout. And I understand it's the county's decision, but we can squeak enough that if we feel that it's important, that they at least evaluate it. And I guess what I'm trying to do here is, what I see is a potential solution being prevented by the current location of the southern portion of that holding pond. Maybe, I don't know, the city engineer would be able to say better. But my concern is that we might need something there. And if the simple solution is it's just going to trigger a road through the woods up to the military thing, then okay, that would be the way to go. But it would be nice to preserve the option of not forcing it to have to happen right now. But if we felt it was necessary to add one later, that you could add one later without putting infrastructure in place that would prevent that from moving. So that would be my thought on that particular part of it. And granted, I would expect it to be fully evaluated by staff because you guys do a great job about that, but this may not have been considered up to this point in time.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Britton, I would also add, if at such time a right turn lane in were to be warranted, I imagine likely at that point it would be warranted to shift the driveway to the full access to be on Keats Avenue, right? And so that right turn lane wouldn't be necessary. But we will follow the guidance of the county, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair. Oh,
Commissioner Segman.
thanks. Just to follow up, so do I understand correctly that the county has kind of like the exclusive jurisdiction to decide whether or not becomes a safety hazard on 70th Street? Because I thought that I read somewhere in the packet that it could be either the county engineer or the city engineer that could initiate whatever is necessary, a traffic study or reporting of the number of crashes or other types of evidence to establish that there needs to be some measures taken to improve the safety. I drove this today, and it was during my lunch hour, so it wasn't a big deal for me to go around the roundabout and come back heading westbound on 70th Street. I didn't encounter that, and of course, it wasn't open, so nobody was turning right into the property. But I can foresee on a Saturday at 6 p.m., people coming through there, and like Mr. Britton said, Commissioner Britton, said that people are, accelerating from this roundabout heading westbound, and then suddenly they encounter brake lights in front of them, and they have to then decelerate perhaps after they've had a few, at some other establishment. So that's my concern is the county the exclusive arbiter of whether or not there needs to be either a dedicated right turn lane or if there needs to be the northern access to military.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Segman, the city and the county will continue to work together on the safety of this intersection, into its future. We always, we're frequently communicating with them, and we communicate our concerns on county corridors often, and they are, taken seriously, and we'll continue to work with them. I think Emily was correct in saying that the second option really is that military access. If we get into a situation where a right turn lane would be needed, I do think that we'd be going up to military rather than constructing that right turn lane. But this will be continued to be worked on with the county. One thing I also wanted to mention too is that the internal site itself has a significant amount of stacking in the driveway. So, it's not like they're turning right and then they're waiting for somebody to back out of a parking stall before they can get into the parking lot. There's a significant amount of stacking within the driveway before they're turning down into the parking lot as well. So we don't anticipate traffic sitting out there on 70th Street, but there is some unknown here with this type of use and exactly how many people we're going to have coming in here. I mean, we know we don't anticipate that it's going to cause stacking out on 70th, but that's the reason why we'll continue to plan for that access at military if needed.
I did, may I continue?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I did notice in maybe one of the other figures that was included in the packet, not this one, that the entrance to the proposed parking lot was awfully close to the driveway entrance on 70th Street, but it appears now in this drawing that the entrance into the parking lot is further north. And is that the additional buffer zone or distance that would allow the stacking to occur on site instead of on 70th Street?
I don't really understand your question.
Oh.
Can you state that again?
Okay, so when I was looking through the packet, I saw that a motorist that would drive from 70th Street and enter to the property using the driveway, I thought on one of the diagrams it showed that in order to go from the driveway into the
relocated, so they're moving it to line
Yep.
the Jones.
Yep. So I thought that the entrance from the driveway into the parking lot was on what would be the, let's see, the south side of the parking lot instead of the north side of the parking lot. So is it in fact the case that the entrance to the parking lot will be on the north side of the parking lot and not the south, thereby to prevent the stacking from occurring on the 70th Street?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Steckman, you're correct. The entrance has moved to the north side of that parking lot, and we've required that alignment with the driveway to the gardener's cottage. It was, I guess, a later change in the site plan when the county guided us to align the driveway with Jorgensen. With that in mind, we needed to move the driveway to the gardener's cottage, and the best design then is to have those two coming together at the same point on the north side of the parking lot.
Great, thank you.
All right, I think that's it for questions for staff. If the applicant would like to approach and add anything additional.
Hit the arrows. Good evening, my name is JJ Malitsky, address 6940 Keats Avenue South, Cottage Grove, Minnesota 55016, hopefully. Emily, wow, geez, great job. Tough crowd to follow here, but she kind of took a lot of my thunder here. I'm just going to tell you a little bit, I guess, about who we are, to just kind of show you the behind the screen here, behind the curtain. 28 years in business, not me, I've just been with the company for 3 years. Tim George started this business as a DJ company almost 3 decades ago, and we're up to 6 venues. This could be number 7. As you stated, we're in 12 other cities actually outside of here, so lucky number 13 technically here. We've got an old historic building, Van Dusen Mansion in downtown Minneapolis. Abu Le Veneré also got historic building in downtown St. Paul. We've also got over 200 acres in Chaska with 3 locations out there, Edward Ann Estate, Equestria West, and Woodland Glass House. The part of the business that is actually in the other markets as well as here, where we do all the wedding services, photo, video, DJ, et cetera, is called Bella Gala. And our goal is to host world-class events. We consider ourselves one of the premier wedding venues in the state of Minnesota, and hoping to expand that a bit here too. You kind of hit all the highlights of what the mansion is all about, but yeah, built in the 1860s, expanded once in the 1917, multiple remodels since then. It is on the historic registry. This is kind of unique. This is basically the spiel that I gave a few weeks back to the neighborhood to try and educate them about us as well as them. I'll try to go a little more high level since you guys are knowledgeable on it. But, it's the biggest notable historic things are, the agricultural significance, but also the people that stayed there. Cordino Severance, for instance, Cass Gilbert, the mansion hosted many occasions, U.S. presidents, Teddy Roosevelt, William H. Taft, Warren Harding, Calvin Coolidge, and so on. Our plan is simply to kind of mirror what we did at the Van Dusen Mansion. We want to respect the history of Cedarhurst. We want to, as you had said, keep as much green space as possible, do as little disruption as we can. Obviously, adding a 4,000 square foot building, the atrium is not small disruption, but knowing that, we're trying to limit it as much as possible, focusing on important pieces like the Rose Garden, focusing on that Cass Gilbert building as soon as we can and kind of in a phase 2, and trying to keep the grounds, the yard, the inside spaces as original as possible. Again, rehabilitate wherever we can and whatever we can, and to create a luxury wedding experience with a rich history, with obviously some modern amenities and ADA compliance, proper restrooms, new elevators, all those things. And something that Bella Gala and then our venue side of the company does is it gives our couples an all-inclusive wedding experience. Marketing would kill me, but it's kind of a one-stop shop if you want. You have the ability to get all those services, the location, the food, the beverage, everything on site. And number 5, this is true to us too, to be a steward of our community, not just our neighborhood, the people that live right around us, but Cottage Grove, the cities that we obviously have business in. You'll notice a lot has happened in the last 5 years since They had not done business. These are just a few lowlights of what the place looks like. But our plan is to, again, keep as much as we can. Windows, siding, all of these things, but obviously bringing it back to life. If this thing sits for too many more years, I'm afraid it's going to turn to rubble. And so our goal is to reverse that. Inside, as much as the flooring as we can keep, as much of the original lighting that's 100 and some odd years old, we want to keep. We want to rewire. We want to bring back to life. Basement, scary, probably haunted, but we're going to definitely go in there, and I'm not going to. He's going to go in there and do everything that we can from new wiring, new plumbing, HVAC, everything, bring it up to code again to keep the life of this building going. So a little bit of the build. This is pretty darn high level, but our hope, hoping for approval here, and the next couple of hoops we've got to jump through too, is to potentially plan to start in late August if possible. Goal would be to get a lot of the outdoor stuff done this year, which would allow kind of that winter, spring, and then midsummer next year to kind of help it grow and help it settle and so on. Obviously in the wintertime, we can do a lot of the indoor remodels. And then spring of 2026 plantings, all the finishes, all the fine details that those couples really fall in love with. Again, our goal opening August of 2026. This is at or around probably an 11-month 11-month project that it would take to actually get this thing to the finish line. He says 12, but I bet you we can get him at 11, so it's on the record now. Grand opening would be a few weeks after the first event. We said that in the neighborhood. We would love the city. We'd love everybody to come join and be part of it. As we said, we want to be stewards of the community and let you guys come and enjoy something on us too. So you had kind of shown already, Emily, thank you for that, but kind of the vibe, the picture, the view of this. Part of what we're attempting to do here is, you'll notice the shed-style addition. Our goal, especially from the recommendations of the historic channels, is to not, we don't want to match this. We don't want to make it look like Cedarhurst Mansion. We want to make it look a little bit different. And obviously that is what we have chosen to do here. But what you'll also notice kind of in that top right picture, notice the floor to ceiling windows basically. In that little area that you see those little mini people walking around, that is the rose garden. Our goal is to make that rose garden really the centerpiece of this entire thing. It's one of the most beautiful things about this history, and our goal is to kind of bring that outdoor space inside as well. You'll notice too, is our neighborhoods are kind of going west and north for the most part. This area is where the majority of the activity is actually going to take place, which really acts as a physical barrier when it comes to sound, when it comes to light, noise pollution, and stuff like that. So that was by no mistake. That was by design to, again, make sure our neighbors love us not only today, but years from now as well. Again, just kind of a high-level overview of what this is going to look like. Overview, Emily had already gone through some of this, but you will notice like our goal on the inside of this building is to do whatever we can to maintain. Obviously, we're going to have to rehabilitate a lot, but whatever we can do to sand down floors, whatever we can do to keep existing original wallpaper, lighting, et cetera, we're going to do. And some of that stuff is a little TBD. We've had a lot of construction. PMI has brought in tons of contractors to make sure that they can give it the best assessment. And from the current approach, it feels like we're going to be able to save a lot of it, which is awesome. Same thing for the upstairs in the addition. Something that's always important is traffic, parking. How do we manage it? Obviously, a controlled entry and exit. Our goal, from a business standpoint, from location to the parking lot, the ideal is going to be off of 70th. It just makes the most sense. It's going to allow for that grand entrance when people go into the parking lot, walk through the really nice pathway to get them to either the mansion, the rose garden, or the atrium. We do understand that who knows what's to come in the future, and that's why we're working with Emily in the city to determine a plan, B, hopefully plan Z, but way down there, if we do have to make something happen, we want to make it happen. So, but what we're also pros at is, we've got 3 locations on 200 acres in Chaska, all of which come in the same single road driveway. We've got what we call air traffic controllers out there that are actually getting people in and out. Oh, you're here with the Jones party. We escort them. We do this thing, again, for being a high-end, for lack of a better term, exclusive wedding experience. Our clients come to expect that, and so, yeah, it's on the face, it shows as, high-end luxury, but at the same time, too, it's also protecting the little things. I don't want people sitting and waiting in parking lots, not knowing where they're going, backing up traffic on the main road, so there's the cosmetic beauty up front is cool, high-end luxury. The reality on the back end is we're doing it because we've got flow, we've got function, we've got things that we need to do from a operation standpoint too. Obviously designated areas for staffing, vendor parking, client parking, which you would see all the way in the bottom right. Can you see a mouse? You sure can. Here we go. So we would have over here in our, this is not necessarily it's overflow, it's like the 24 spots is 1A and then 1B is the spot I'm highlighting right here. If you ever go to, Home Depot or whatever, everybody parks in the back. That's kind of the same thing that we would do. So the people that are coming in for the event would obviously filter into the front area. We do also, from a parking standpoint, build relationships. Not there yet. We always wait, obviously, until everything is done. But local hotels, local shuttles, local limousines, et cetera, to identify opportunities for people to do more than the average three-person per car typical usage. Also, we have done internally, when we see extremely high guest counts, more towards the max of our capacity, there are times that we'll actually implement in-house valet parking, which would allow us to, in those 23 spots, you can usually get close to 3 times, actually, if you're kind of parking them like sardines, if you will, but we'd have licensed, insured valet parkers bring that in, which would alleviate that parking issue. And I don't have the updated one, because I sent this before. You were so kind to adjust that, but Emily had shown the updated parking is actually going to be here, not here. This is the code red, though, 911 parking stuff that we don't plan to use. We would only use in a situation that we, had to make it happen. So how do we manage sound and light? These are two of those pollutions, too, that obviously I think really impact the neighbors. The building itself, as I showed, is a massive blocking agent, I guess, for both sound and light. Emily had also mentioned that, our stuff, any amplified sound wouldn't be after 10 p.m. That would include the rose garden. That would be included on any of our porches or patios. The majority of our ceremonies are typically like that, 4 to 5:30, give or take. So usually any of those things that she had stated were 150 plus feet away from any of the other properties would usually be done by dinner time. So then they would move back into the mansion and spend the majority of their time in that rose garden area. Again, the parking lot is a little bit more, it's closer to the 70th area. And what she had showed, the amount of trees that we're bringing in. This is also one of those two-part things. Clients love it, but it's also really, really functional. Our goal is we are still going to be taking out a decent amount of stuff, expanding the driveway, obviously adding a 4,000 square foot establishment. We want to make it beautiful, but we also know from a functional standpoint that these are great sound barriers. When we're putting up trees, when we're putting up bushes, removing actually some of the dirt, if there are any areas that we want to actually make any of those type of sound barriers, little 4-foot slopes on the exteriors, especially to the north and potentially to the west, blocking those homes. We've actually considered that as well. And that's about it for that. Again, just another little high view overview. She did a great job about talking about trees and all that fun stuff. And if you really want to get crazy, granular, these are actually a great deal of the things that we plan to add in. And then just a little overview, we've been working with the same designer for the last 15 years. His goal, Ed Hawksford, his goal is to really embody, I think, the nature, or excuse me, not the nature, the history, pardon me, of what Cedarhurst is all about. So our goal is to bring in as much, old-fashioned furniture, utilizing a lot of the stuff that still is there, because a lot of it is actually decent and in good shape. This is just a picture, drawing or sketch of the bridal suite, or one of our getting ready suites. And the groom suite, the other getting ready suite is going to be a little bit more interactive, you know, pool table, the bathtub that Mr. President Roosevelt actually bathed in. Apparently, we have no photos to prove this, but we're going to have that actually in the groom suite as kind of a photo op thing. It won't be functioning, but more of a piece of art. Even the elevators, the inserts of the elevators, our plan is to find a really cool wall to kind of place those on. Will not be functioning, but we want to pay homage to a lot of these things that maybe aren't going to work anymore, but can still tell that story. The bar, this is probably the biggest addition or change inside the mansion itself. The current bar just isn't going to work functionally. That flow isn't going to be possible. There used to be actually a hole behind the bar historically that was filled in one of those 1917 to whenever expansions or renovations. We're actually just going to reopen that wall, having the same entrance to where it used to be before, and then close to where the kitchen is where that bar is going to be. So from a functionality standpoint, it's going to make a lot more sense, but also from a flow standpoint, just the safety of congestion and stuff, also going to make a lot more sense. What this will allow people to do is head out to the atrium, head back into the mansion, and so on, creating a great flow, obviously a good experience for our clients, keeping all those fireplaces that were built 100+ years ago, as you can see one in the sketch on the left there. And then the atrium, kind of our ballroom, if you will. You know, we do want to bring just a tiny bit of that history in here. You'll see some of the lattice, et cetera. We're actually toying with bringing an actual fountain in there, not a plumbed one, so we're not going to have to go there, but something that can be decorated, something that people can put, you know, floral and things like that on. But again, finding something that is from that period of the late 1800s, early 1900s, to really bring back the history of that location. Just another vibe. And the Cedarhurst Mansion. We want to keep the name. We did update just to touch the logo, but that's about it. Not as good as Emily's, but hey. Questions?
Any questions?
And thank you for your consideration, first of all.
Absolutely. Commissioner Bob.
So I do see that in some of these pictures or diagrams, you have the driveway not aligned with the Jorgensen Street, and in some you have it aligned with the Jorgensen Street. So which one is it going to be?
Commissioner Bott, aligned, yeah. So we had about 9 emergency meetings, I feel like, in the last 10 days. And I had gotten this prior to Thursday over to these ladies for you guys to be prepared. And on Thursday, Tim, one of our architects, was able to provide the updated version to Emily, so that can be at. So it would be aligned, and we actually hadn't had county confirmation prior to me submitting this as well. So she's right, I'm wrong.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Any further questions? Commissioner Fisher?
I don't have a question, but I just think it's really cool to see this being renovated. Like,
Awesome.
I'm a big house geek, and I just cannot wait to see this done. I think it's going to be awesome.
Very cool.
That's all I have to say.
I'll take that, very nice.
So-
Commissioner Bott, do you want to second that?
I will.
All right, nice.
Commissioner Steckman.
I'm very happy that this property is coming into greater use, and it's a beautiful property, and I'm happy to see this. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Steckman.
All right, thank you very much.
Appreciate you, thank you.
At this time, we'll open public hearing on the application. Anyone wishing to speak for or against the application can step to the podium. All right, seeing none, we will close public hearing on the application. Any further discussion by commission?
I do have one question.
Commissioner Fisher.
It was mentioned that there was a community meeting, and it said mostly
Unobjectionable.
unobjectionable. I'm wondering why it doesn't say 100% unobjectionable. What were the concerns, if any, that were brought up by the people surrounding the property?
So, full transparency, you know, there was one couple that was in there that was kind of busting me up a little bit and asking every single question. It was a lot like what Emily had to go through up here a few minutes ago. And at the end of it, they stayed the entire time. They were one of the first groups there, and they stayed the entire time. And they were on board. Every single person, multiple people were talking, what you said, and it's like, we saw what this place was going to become. It was a shopping center, it was a strip mall, it was apartment complexes, it was our neighboring on the west, sorry, get my directions right, were nervous about, they're like, you're not gonna bring the, you know, the entire staff aren't gonna come here through the cul-de-sac, correct? And so they saw what this place could be and what this place still might be, and they were so happy with this. I think they were appreciative. So to me, from my aspect, I felt like 100% of the people, 90% were happy when they got there, 100% were happy when they left. And so, you know, I think, I don't want to say, even for that last 10%, whether the lesser of two evils, maybe, but they liked what we talked about. They investigated what our brand was about, who we were. They read our reviews, and they said, you know, if I got to have a neighbor that's going to do something here, I'd like it to be you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank
I
you.
would agree. I mean, the lack of public comment right now too says that it sounds like the meeting was, you know, was well attended and lots of questions were answered, so.
My
appreciate
estimate
you
was
doing that.
closer to 40 people, by the way. Just throwing it out there. Thank you. I didn't have a clicker here.
Any further discussion by commission? Yeah, I guess I'll add in my 2 cents. I'm thankful that someone is willing to take on what sounds like a very big job. I'm assuming it's gonna be closer to 12 months, I agree. To do this work, because I think this is a very important piece of the city's history that we wanna make sure we can keep. And the best way to do that is by having somebody come in and be able to use it for commercial venture and make money off it, because that means they'll take care of it. And so I'm excited to see how it turns out. I think this is a very good proposal to have in the community, and it sounds like the applicant is willing to keep the historical aspect of this property intact so that we can remember what it was like, but also use it going on in the future. So, Commissioner Britton.
I'll say that from a planning perspective, I think you guys are dotting all the i's and crossing the t's, and, you know, that's what goes into recommendation, yay or nay. From a personal perspective, I've seen what's been proposed here in the past, and I've seen what's been implemented here in the past, and I haven't seen anybody take it to the level that you're proposing to take it. And it's exciting to see what you're proposing. It's something. It's never our purview to consider whether you're going to be successful or not. That's just not our job. Our job is just to focus on the zoning. But from what I've seen in the past, there's never been enough investment in what was trying to be done in order to make it successful, and therefore it was never sustainable. So I am excited to see the atrium, the rose garden, and all the things that you're adding that, in my opinion, from seeing all these other things, give it a very high chance of success versus what we've seen happen in the past.
Thank you. Anything else? Otherwise, I would look for a motion at this time then.
Okay, it's a big motion,
And
right?
it's gonna be a long one.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the zoning amendment. Do we need to do it per parcel, or can we just do the whole thing together? Okay, Emily says list it. Zoning, to do the zoning amendment for the Keats Avenue from ag to mixed use, the HCUP, the zoning amendment for the 70th Street property, right, from ag 2 to R3, and the HCUP for that parcel as well. Approval, conditioned, or, oh my gosh, subject to the conditions in the staff report.
Does that also then include C, which is on our screen, the site plan review as well?
Yeah, all of the things.
All right, so I have a motion to approve the zoning amendment for both parcels, the HCUP for both parcels, as well as the site plan review.
Yes.
Subject to the conditions in the staff report. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Second from Commissioner Steckman. Any further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Number 7 tonight is approval of the minutes. Unless there are any additions or corrections, I would look for a motion to approve. Minutes from last meeting. Motion to approve from Commissioner Bott. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Britton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. 8 is reports. A is a recap of the July 16th City Council meeting. Emily.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, just a brief overview. We only had one meeting in July with the holiday, and I would just like to highlight our Park and Rec Department. They were awarded 2 awards by the Minnesota Recreation and Park Association, one for their work on the Glacial Valley Park building, as well as one for their work establishing and maintaining the pickleball program here in Cottage Grove. So I think it's always worth giving just a little shout out to those other departments in this organization that work hard as well. And then the only other item that I wanted to note was the conditional use permit and the variance for the property on Hadley that you all saw in June. The council did approve that request for that accessory structure as well. Mr. Councilmember Justin Olson, anything else to add on your end?
Yes, so we followed your recommendations, I think is what she's trying to say, on that property.
That was for that building, the residential building, or the rural, yeah, okay.
Correct.
Yep.
Yep. The only thing I would add is we are neck deep now in budget. So, we're meeting every week at this point. We'll meet again, is today Monday? They all run together now. We'll meet again this coming Wednesday. And we'll go through, last week was public safety and Emily's department and general government, some other things. And this week will be public works and equipment, and then we'll revisit some of the things that we talked about last week. And then the week after that, we have a regular council meeting, but we have a before council meeting workshop and an after council meeting workshop. After council meeting workshop is for the capital improvement plan, which is where we put in big projects, park buildings and road projects and those kinds of things. And we have a 5-year capital improvement plan that we work on. And of course, that's a moving 5-year plan, but we reevaluate it every year so that we can slot in what we need to do, when we need to do it, based upon when we can afford it. And then we have to circulate that amongst our partners, particularly the county, as you mentioned earlier, to make sure that their capital improvement plans and ours merge. So it's a heavy lift, but it's sort of the most important thing we do. So we're in the midst of that right now, and hopefully we'll have a budget for the next 2 years put to bed here by the end of August. With respect to your question, Commissioner Steckman, about is the county the sole arbiter on county roads, the answer to that question is yes. We have the ability to make noise or squeak, I think, as Commissioner Britton said, and we're pretty good at it. And we're lucky that we have a county commissioner who works very closely with us and is responsive to our requests and our needs and things like that. That isn't always the case. Sometimes you have that and sometimes you don't. The county staff is very good, and their county engineer, Wayne Sandberg, is exceptional. To give you a perfect example of your question in real life, there was a pork chop that was on that road that was removed. And it was removed at the behest of the city in partnership with the county. And we had a county commissioner who didn't really work with us too closely on that, but the county staff, the engineer, Wayne Sandberg, worked closely with us on that. And the caveat when that was taken out is that if anything were to change in terms of the demographic of that intersection and or traffic patterns, to your point, Commissioner Britton, we may relook at that. So I would not be surprised if there's some additional dialogue if the Cedarhurst project continues to progress with regard to that access point and some of the details that you mentioned here tonight, and you did a great job with that. Thank you. Those are lots of questions that we as a city council will also ask, and so since they've been asked and answered already, we'll just simply follow up on those. So thank you for that. But yes, the county is in charge. It's their road. The last thing I wanted to mention is, if you haven't already heard, This was a year where we did a community survey. We do these every 3 to 5 years. We did a different type of survey this year. We went with a national survey organization called Polco, P-O-L-C-O. And the reason we chose to do that is Polco does community surveys across the country. And so we were able to benchmark Cottage Grove's responses to responses from across the country, different demographics, different states, different cities, different climates, et cetera. So I'll just give you a few highlights. 79% of the residents in the city of Cottage Grove ranked their quality of life as excellent or good. That was great to see. That's 8 and 10. If you went to Park High School, that's why I said that, 8 and 10. Yep. By the way, 1988 grad, just FYI. 86% gave a very positive rating to our path and trail system, people being able to walk and use the pathways and the trails. This one will be good for you, Commissioner Fisher. Variety of housing options, 63% positive, and availability of affordable housing options, 89% positive. Now, keep in mind, you and I think of affordable housing differently perhaps than a standard person would, because there are definitions to that, but still, that's a pretty impressive response, I think. Overall government, you ready? 56%, I'll take it, gave us a positive response, although 68% said they were happy with their level of taxes, good or excellent, so that was good. Public safety got an unbelievably positive rating, which doesn't surprise me because we spend a lot of time, energy, effort, and investment on public safety in this community. 86% positive, which I was gratified to see. You don't have public safety, you don't have a community. It's just the way it is. And we also had 86% rate the community as a good place to raise a family. So some really nice highlights there. There's more information on the survey on the city's website. There was also a lot of information that was shared on the city's social media, Facebook page, et cetera. But if you go to the city's website, you can download the PDF of the entire survey. And the survey was done in 2 separate ways. So it was targeted to certain residents. We did direct mailings and things like that. And then there was an open survey where anybody who lived in the community could respond. And so they blended those together, which is something that Polco does that I've never seen done before. And the representative sample size was about 493 residents between the two responded. So according to Polco, that's a statistically relevant number. I would have liked to see more, but they're the experts, so we're gonna go with that. And then they extrapolate those answers out across the entirety of the community's population by demographic. So all in all, good news there. And like I said before, not going to be a lot of sleep in the next month or so till we get through the budget. But you know, this is the time of year we live for. It's very important, and these survey results are a direct correlation to what we put as priorities in our budget. So it was good to have this information going into the budget dialogue. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Councilmember Olson, and I know in a year and a climate that we're in right now, that the budget is gonna be probably trickier than ever to try to make sure we balance levy versus getting services to the city who needs it and the people who are in the city, so.
It's tough. Yeah, we've had a lot of federal government funds that have been committed to us over the last couple of years for different projects that we're not certain we're gonna get. So we're trying to find different ways to balance the budget while still funding those major projects that we've been planning for, like 80th Street reconstruction and those kinds of things. So I appreciate your acknowledgement of that. It's a very difficult period for local government at the minute.
Any questions for Councilmember Olson? Commissioner Bott?
I'm just curious, so when this survey was conducted, when was this conducted?
It started in May, or March rather, and it went through May, end of May.
Okay. And do they have statistics showing that which areas were picked for the survey?
Absolutely. Yep, it's all available on the PDF report that's available on the city's website. Yeah, and if you'd like it emailed to you, send me a note, my city email, and I'll happily get it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, our communications department, Phil Gents, who some of you have met, he's ultimately the one who was responsible for executing that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And one last follow-up question on the management of roads or?
Yes.
Who is the arbiter? So it's only so I know now that the county is the arbiter. So other than the county roads, we just have city roads, there are nothing in between?
Yeah, the city operates all of the city streets, the city roadways, the collectors, those kinds of things. We have the county that also operates county roads like County State Aid Highway 22 is 70th Street, so that's a county road. Sometimes, believe it or not, we trade. So a few years ago, we traded a portion of 65th Street from the county to the city for the city to operate because it wasn't really feasible for the county to continue operating it when it was being used for city traffic. But don't forget, we also have State Highway 61. So if you look at Highway 61 that intersects the city, that's a state highway. So anything we do with that road has to be done through MnDOT. The city does not control that, and the same is true of the bridge decks.
Okay. And the sidewalks in the neighborhood, they are city-owned or are they neighborhood-owned? The sidewalks?
So if you have a community in your neighborhood where you have sidewalks and you have a HRA, your HRA may actually be responsible for your sidewalks. However, a homeowners association. So if you live in a neighborhood like mine where I don't have a homeowners association and there's sidewalks, then the city maintains those.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
B was response to planning commission inquiries. We had 2 inquiries that were both answered at the last meeting, so we didn't have any more to follow up on. C is planning commission requests. Any requests for staff tonight? Seeing none, we will move to 9, which is adjournment. So I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn from Commissioner Fisher. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Britton. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned.